Our son was still only crawling when Marie-Cécile, a young French woman, became his babysitter. That she stayed with us for years explains why he has a near-perfect French accent and why I know the lyrics and accompanying hand motions to nursery songs from the 1960s. It's also why I know the expression "au pif." The first time I heard the words, pronounced "au pif," was when I asked Marie-Cécile how she made the rice pudding that was cooling on the counter. "Au pif," she said, bouncing her index finger off the tip of her nose as though she were playing charades. Encouraged to give a definition, she shrugged her shoulders and shook her head slowly. As a noun, pif is slang for nose, and au pif can mean randomly, roughly, or off the top of your head. Having cooked with Marie-Cécile a few times before then, I should have guessed that it had something to do with feeling your way around a dish. Marie-Cécile never turned to a recipe, not even to check a measurement, a step, or a tip. She cooked simple, satisfying food, calmly and assuredly, partly from memories of things 3,600 miles away and partly from good kitchen sense. Although it sounds most adorable in French, au pif is the way people everywhere cook. A dash of this. A bit of that. We toss broccoli into the pasta because we find some in the corner of the vegetable bin. We put the stew to braise in the oven when the stovetop is full, open the spice drawer, see star anise and flavor a stir-fry with it. We cook with what we have on hand, making changes to recipes as we go along. Sometimes cooking au pif is creative, sometimes it's practical, and most of the time we don't even think about it. It's just how we move about the kitchen. It's how we put together a meal until we get to dessert, which so often involves more precision than inspiration. Marie-Cécile's desserts were never exact, formal, or fussy. Those she returned to often poached fruit, baked apples, a thick, sweet pancake, and a memorable rice pudding were made in the spirit of au pif. I thought of them as this and that sweets, a little more of this or a little less of that, and they would still be fine. If precision were important and if recipes were required, Marie-Cécile, like so many good cooks faced with flour, sugar, butter, and measuring cups, was timid. When I knew her, I was timid, too. I was just learning to bake and hadn't yet discovered that within the bounds of a recipe, a baker with an imagination could find room to play. Baking is a craft built on proportions, fat to flour, wet ingredients to dry, mass to leavening, metamorphosis, beating butter and sugar together until creamy, egg whites until firm, dough until it comes together in a ball, and observation. Bake until the cupcakes are springy to the touch, the cake starts to pull away from the sides of the pan, the custard no longer jiggles. It took me a long while to see that everything I needed to succeed was written into each recipe. If the recipe was good, and I followed it, I would have the dessert I set out to make. If I tinkered around its edges, I would have a dessert of my own. Simple rice pudding like Marie-Cécile's rice and sweetened milk cooked until soft and thick was the first dessert I found the courage to play with. It was easy and rewarding to simmer the rice with bits of dried fruit that plumped and flavored the milk, fat strips of orange or lemon zest, a cinnamon stick, a few crushed cardamom pods, a hunk of ginger or a spoonful of dried lavender, which no one liked as much as I did. One day I stirred some dark chocolate into the almost finished pudding, and that became my family's favorite version. I folded crème fraîche into the cold pudding when I was serving it to guests. Company pudding also got a drizzle of caramel, honey, maple syrup, or raspberry sauce, and sometimes fruit on top or alongside, apples or pears sautéed with butter and sugar in winter, berries in summer and orange slices year-round. Once, I topped the pudding with ice cream and hot fudge and called it a sundae. From pudding, I went on to cookies and cakes, pies, custards, brownies and blondies, finding them all amenable to tweaks and reshaping. The first time I follow a recipe, I make it just the way it's written. I want to understand what it's meant to be. And then, I follow my pif, often adding spices, nuts, or extracts to batters, cajoling dough into new forms, making cupcakes from recipes designed for towering layer cakes, doubling up on frosting or going heavy on chocolate chunks in just about anything, because I now know I can. I don't tap my nose the way Marie-Cécile once did, but as I think about transforming her long-loved recipes, I'm almost tempted to. Recipe: rice pudding.